Have you ever experienced SI joint pain or pain in the lower part of your back? Then this video is for you. Hi, I'm Alex Effer, founder of Resilient Training and Rehabilitation. I've helped thousands of coaches and practitioners get faster and more consistent results with their clients. Let's get into it. In my experience when assessing clients with SI joint pain, there are a couple major things that I see that contribute to that. The main thing, or the first thing, is that they have a pelvis that is in more of this externally rotated position. So if we have this externally rotated position, that means that there's going to be a lot of tension along the back side of the pelvis. Now, when we're looking at the SI joint, which is essentially when the sacrum and the innominate merge together, create this joint, when that gets compressed, again, because I have tension in the back side, the innominate, the ilium, the hip bone, is going to push against the sacrum. So essentially going to push the sacrum forward. And when it does that on both sides, that's when we create compression on that backside. So we have this externally rotated pelvis. That's why when people use an SI joint belt, which essentially just looks like a belt, and they wear it around their hips, then that's going to laterally compress their pelvis, which is going to then open up the space, which is why people feel relief when wearing that belt, because it just creates that artificial lateral tension in order to decompress the backside of the pelvis. So the first reason is that we have more of this externally rotated pelvis. The second reason is that we have a rotation in the pelvis. And so this could happen where I've got a rotation towards the right, and so I experience SI joint pain on the right side because I've just got so much weight over that right leg. Or it's again still rotated to the right, but I've got that tension or that compression on the back side of the pelvis that is pushing everything towards the right. That creates that discomfort. And so for both of these, they have different mechanisms as why you start to experience the pain. Sometimes people will say that when a pelvis is rotated towards the right and you've got SI joint pain on the right, they call it an unstable SI joint, which is not really unstable. It's just I'm shifting over my weight towards that right side. I can't handle that load. I cannot create motion in the hip that is able to accept that load. And so what I do is I just push the pelvis forward. I just dump the pelvis forward. And then the other way, again, because that pelvis is pushing over towards the right, that excessive tension creates that backside can also experience pain. Additionally, if the pelvis is turned towards the right and I have to get you into position to turn you back to the left, but I can't, what ends up by happening is I just arch my back or I roll the whole pelvis back, again, just creating stress through that left side. So I've got an externally rotated pelvis, or I've got a rotation in the pelvis that can contribute to that SI joint pain. And the major thing that we can do in order to overcome this discomfort is to internally rotate the pelvis. If I cannot internally rotate, I cannot accept force and I cannot produce force. I'm just gonna do it by arching my back, hyperextending my knees, rounding my shoulders forward, or flaring my ribs. That's all going to contribute to a pelvis being pushed forward and a pelvis and a spine that is unable to accept that load. So what we have to do is we've got to internally rotate the pelvis so that we're able to open up the space in the back of the SI joint. And we have to address some type of rotation that's happening within the pelvis in order to decompress that area so it's not getting as hit with as much load. The first exercise I'm going to talk about is one of my favorite exercises called the pelvic decompressor. And essentially what it's going to do is it's going to laterally compress the pelvis so that, again, it's going to open up space in the back part of the SI joint, right? The back part of the pelvis. So by laying on top of the foam roller, essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to laterally compress this bottom side, and then I'm going to actively move my hip forward and back, and that is going to also help laterally compress the top side, but again, also create some of that rotation and that shifting side to side that is going to hit two birds with one stone. It's going to internally rotate the pelvis, and it's also going to drive rotation. So how I'm gonna set up is I'm gonna take a foam roller, half a foam roller. If this is too hard, sometimes people feel a little bit discomfort with this early on because there's so much tension. You can use a towel. And what we're gonna do is the side that you're feeling discomfort on, we're gonna lay on top of that side. So let's say in this case, my left side is the one that's in discomfort. I'm gonna lay on top of it. I'm gonna put it right where my belt line is. Okay, that's gonna be kind of like the top part of the hip bones. So I'm gonna lay down, I'm gonna have my left leg straight. I'm gonna have my right leg crossed over. Now, one thing I don't want you to do is I don't want your knee to cave in like this. I want you to actively keep your knee going towards your toes. It's not gonna go towards your pinky toe or anything like that, but I don't want it sagging down like this, okay? So I'm gonna lay down all the way. Support your head, and you should feel a lot of tenderness in this area. You can always shift it lower or a little bit higher just to feel where that tension is. And then what you're gonna do by planting this foot into the ground and keeping this left leg straight, I want you to pretend like someone's pulling your left leg out of the socket, pulling the bottom leg out of the socket. With this foot pushing into the ground, you're gonna reach the knee forward, again, not going down, but staying in line, reaching the knee forward, and then you're gonna pull the knee back. And you're just going back and forth. And what you should feel is you should feel your hip rolling on top of the foam roller. And this is going to, as I come back, this is going to start to hit some of the muscles in the back part of the pelvis. As I go forward, it's gonna start to hit muscles in the front. But remember, this isn't just a muscular issue. What this is doing is creating that shape of the pelvis we're talking about so that we can start to decompress the backside. Just because I'm experiencing the pain on the backside, it doesn't mean that's where the issue is. We have to create the shape of the pelvis so that we can start to reduce tension in the area that is getting loaded excessively. So you just go back and forth. And usually what I'll do is I'll cue 2 sets of 30 to 60 seconds. And you can do this on both sides, but I really want you to emphasize particularly the side that you're feeling discomfort. So the second exercise is going to be a cable chop towards the left leg with the left leg slightly elevated. And again, what this is going to do is this is just going to create this rotation, assuming I've got that discomfort on the left side and I'm trying to turn the pelvis back towards the left. I really have to open up the back of the left side. But also by facing towards the cable and pulling the cable down towards me, that is gonna open up the back side on both sides. So it's gonna open up the right side and the left. But because I've got this left foot elevated and I've got this right foot slightly in front, that's going to push me over towards the left side a little bit. And because that left leg is slightly elevated, that's gonna keep my knee bent, which is gonna prevent me from arching my back and trying to use my back to do this movement. I'm gonna set up with my right foot slightly in front, left foot slightly back. So think like left toes in line with right heel. I'm gonna keep my knees bent. I'm gonna push towards the left. So I'm really pushing on the inside edge of my right foot, not letting it straighten, keeping it slightly bent. I'm then gonna take a big breath in this position as I reach my shoulder blades forward. I'm gonna breathe out as I pull the cable down on either side of my left thigh. Hold this position as I breathe in. You should feel a big stretch in your back, in your upper back as well as your lower back, and then you're gonna breathe out and come back. So you're gonna breathe out as you move. Breathe in, hold the position. Breathe out, go back. And as you keep on doing this, you're gonna start to feel a lot of left glute. You're gonna feel some groin muscles working on that left side. And if you're really lucky in able to push off that right side effectively, you start feeling that right glute working as well because it's gonna be turning your pelvis towards the left. So again, we'll be doing about 2 sets of about 6 reps. If you use this as a warm-up, you can do 2 to 3 sets of 10 reps if you're using this as part of your program. So when it comes to exercises like this, if you're in pain, you can use this as kind of this rehab process where I get my clients to do this every day. If you aren't in pain, but you understand that there's some kind of rotation going through your pelvis, or through your body, then I like to sprinkle this into the programming. So maybe you do the pelvic decompressor at the beginning, in part of your warm-up, even part of your cool down, and you use this cable chop within the program itself. So maybe you're doing a tricep, maybe you're doing a press, you're doing some type of leg movement, and then you add this as part of the third exercise. So we could sprinkle it in, or we can make this the main focus. Now remember, this is not going to be specific to your pain. This is just for educational purposes to understand how some of these mechanisms can happen. So I always recommend getting assessed by a professional just so you're able to get the exercises that are specific to you. But if you found this video helpful, don't forget to save, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.